We got all the parts in to finish this car, literally. Let's go check them out. Alright guys, and I am not playing around when I mean like we got all of our parts. This big box here houses the intercooler piping, the couplers, the clamps, the blow-off valve, and the intercooler. And this little box, if you can't tell by the tape there, we got our goodies from Garage 16. This box I'm really excited about. But let's put that off to the side and go through everything we got for this car. So we got our intercooler kit, kind of a piece together kit. Like we got some RDT motoring, couplers, we got a whole sack of clamps here. We got all of our piping, which actually does not look half bad at all. There's two pieces that are skinnier than the rest. I think that's just for clearance issues on this cars, but we got our whole intercooler kit. It did come with this HKS style SQV, like sequential blow off. It's got a little purple piece down there, kind of fresh, kind of fancy, but it's just an eBay blow off. I still don't know if we're gonna run a blow off or just send it. It is a cheap turbo and I don't want to create a bunch of smoke by blowing it up, but this is our intercooler kit. I want to get mocking this up right away to see what I need to do or cut or make to make this work. So this is my main focus right now, but let's take a peek at what we got from Garage 16. All right, so here is all the exciting stuff. Let's go one by one. First things first, we got our Speed Factory sandwich plate, and you know, I can't lie, I'm a little disappointed with this. This was not cheap, and it's literally just the assembly. It doesn't come with the dash 6 fitting to plug or run anything from the dash 6 port, and it doesn't come with any of the 1/8 NPT fittings. So you're literally just spending a shit ton of money on a piece of milled out metal with one fitting through the middle, and everything else is exposed and open and just up to you to figure out. So you're probably gonna have to spend another 20-30 bucks on fittings to cap off and make this actually work. Kind of annoying when you spend so much money from a real company that they're just gonna give you a block of milled out aluminum pretty much. Moving on, just got another AN wrench. This isn't actually from Garage 16. Mine just broke. It's from Evil Energy. It's who we use all of our AN lines and stuff for, so I finally just got an AN wrench. Then we got our turbo guard right here, 3-inch black with the red turbo guard logo right there. Sick unit, so we don't have to run a filter. We got our Honda 4-bar map sensor, as you can see right there. So this will be able to read and register a shitload more boost than we're ever going to be running, especially with a stock motor. We have our Vibrant 5-bolt T3 T4 steel flange. This thing is thick, man. That's like 1/2 inch thick steel. It's heavy, absolute unit. Gonna get my fabricator to fab up a wicked downpipe with that unit. Then we have our hybrid racing fuel pump here, 335 liter per hour. You got the pump right here. Hybrid racing, 335 liter per hour. It also comes with a new sock and a little flying lead wiring harness, just a positive, negative, hose, clamps, and some butt connectors. So that is sweet. We got our fuel pump. Now the only thing I don't have to finish this car, and it's related to fuel, is injectors. I'm buying some Bosch EV14 550cc's from Performance Fuel Injection Canada, and those will be in a little bit. So once I get the injectors, the car is done aside from a tune and fab work. Moving on to our last piece though, this is arguably the most exciting piece in here. This is our Go Fast Bits 44mm V-band wastegate. And when I say this thing's big, man, this thing is big. Let's get this out on the table. Boom. This thing is an absolute monster. God damn. And I'm hoping they put just all the springs inside of it, so I'm gonna have to take this apart and find what the 10-pound spring is, because I cannot push this diaphragm with my thumb for the life of me. And it said it came with a bunch of springs to make a bunch of different combinations, but if we just walk this over to the car, look how freaking big it is. Like, that is an absolute monster. It almost hits the radiator. So I don't know where the downpipe is gonna go. It might just have to come out the hood, because there is literally no freaking room at all. And unlike Speed Factory, these guys were nice enough to include the proper hardware for their kit. I don't even know where my exhaust is gonna go because of how big this freaking thing is. So that's all the parts from Garage 16, and you're seeing it here in front of you. The build is done aside from injectors, fab, and a revised tune. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave the fuel pump and the oil sandwich plate and the 4-bar and the flange for another day. Today I want to take the top off this wastegate, get my proper spring in there, and fix this to the manifold. Chuck my turbo guard on because both of these are bolt-on, super simple, straightforward pieces. And then I want to start diving into the intercooler, mocking it up on the car, see what I'm going to need to get welded, so on and so forth. So without further ado, let's go ahead and open this wastegate. Fuck, this is so much pressure. Ugh. Sheesh. Okay, so it looks like we have 2 included springs. I thought there'd be a lot more, but god damn, that's a lot of pressure. All right, so right here it says comes fitted with a 5 and 10 pound spring for a base boost pressure of 15 psi. 7 pound spring is sold separately, and all 3 can be used together. I just need to figure out what is the 5 psi and what is the 10 psi spring. 10 psi says it should be outer and 5 should be the inner. So I'm just gonna leave the big one in, the small one out, assemble it back together, put the fittings in, and then we're gonna take it over to the car. Here goes nothing, fellas. All right, and now that we have the 10 psi spring in it, I'm gonna go ahead and install the 1/8 NPT to vacuum fittings. Right here, all your boost source. So if you guys were wondering where the lines go, we're not gonna be running a boost controller, so we're gonna cap off the top port and use the lower port to go into the hole that we tapped on our compressor housing on the turbo. So for now, I'm gonna put the top one in because I don't have a 1/8 NPT plug to block this off. I guess another thing you could do is put like a little cap on it and zip tie it on there. For now, I'm just gonna go ahead and tighten this one up, but I'm gonna leave this one hand tight so I can easily just unthread it by hand in the car and then put in my cap when it comes in the mail. So let's go ahead, flip it over, take this V-band clamp off, because if you guys didn't know, this wastegate comes with a V-band flange to weld onto your manifold if your manifold doesn't have it. Luckily enough for us, ours already has a 44mm V-band clamp, so we're not gonna need that. We are gonna need it. It does come for the wastegate pipe as well. It does come with the same flange. We will need this to make our little exhaust pipe off that, and we are gonna be venting it to atmosphere so we can hear that external wastegate just screaming. But for now, we're gonna need our little V-band without the flange. Let's head over to the car and get this thing bolted on. And now that the wastegate's in, let me get a little zoom in for you guys. Wastegate is in right here, and as you can see, if I just grab one of these vacuum nipples, I can still rotate the turbo. So we're gonna have to see where the downpipe is gonna come out and how it needs to be clocked. And then our vacuum source is just gonna go right around to the front of the turbo, and all should be well. And our wastegate is installed. Alrighty boys, and now that our downpipe is installed, I realize why so many Hondas go hood exit, because that's where the downpipe starts. Tell me where it's gonna go. I mean, seriously, even if I had an E-fan here, like a slim E-fan, and this big shroud was gone, you still got the slave cylinder right there. And I mean, like, I got like 3 fingers worth of room. I'm supposed to have a 3-inch downpipe go from here to there somehow. I really don't know how that's gonna work, even with slim fans. I mean, the slave cylinder just protrudes out there. I really don't know where this downpipe is gonna go. So at the end of the day, this thing might actually just be hood exit, because like, what am I gonna do with that? If you have anything for me in the comments below regarding downpipe clearance on a top mount manifold with a fat wastegate, let me know, because I would like to have an exhaust out the back of this thing just to keep a little bit more low profile on the streets. But where the hell is that gonna go? If we go under the car,
we can see kind of where the screamer pipe is going to go. It's going to come directly out of here, drop down, and kind of just get kicked out straight down. So there'll be flames shooting from the front of the car for sure. But that is enough clearance for the wastegate screamer pipe. I just don't have clearance for a downpipe, even if I had an E-fan. I mean, I could just take this off in the meantime, and I still don't think we'd have enough room. I mean, I might, but I really don't think so. Regardless though, wastegate is on. Let's open this turbo guard and stick it on the front of our turbo. And then once that's done, we can move on to taking this intake off and running our intercooler piping and seeing how all this is gonna go together. Okay, and this should just sink right on the front. Oh yeah, like a glove, Papa. Like a glove. Obviously we gotta have the turbo guard letters at the top. I just don't know how the heck I'm gonna tighten it, but dang, that actually looks sick. I really like the way that looks, and obviously you can tell, even if I wanted to run a filter, I mean, I just can't. It just is what it is. There's no room. Turbo guard was the only thing I could do to help this turbo survive. Alright, with our nice little turbo guard installed, I actually really like the way this thing looks and the way it's turning out. The black and the red's going to go very nice with the valve cover once it's repainted. But let's go dive into that intercooler box, get all the piping laid out, take this intake off, and start piecing together the intercooler. Okay, and here we have it. Now it's time to play a little bit of Jenga. We got a bunch of clamps, we got a bunch of couplers, and we've got all of our piping. Obviously, this one and this bend are going to be going near the front bumper to kind of loop around from the engine bay to the intercooler to the turbo, etc. Ooh, nice little bend in that pipe right there. Thanks, China. And then this pipe is a lot skinnier. This is actually going to go from the turbo to this pipe. So this is going to go turbo over there, around into the intercooler. And then it's going to come out of the intercooler into this pipe, come up into the engine bay via this pipe. And then it should go right into the manifold. I might have to use this little S-pipe intermediary, but I might be able to get away without it. Here's our intercooler right here, just a little small boy. EM USA, a lot of eBay turbo kits use this intercooler, and it does a decent job. It says it supports up to 400 horse, and we're gonna be hard pressed to get 300. So this setup right now should suffice. But let's go take our carbon NA intake off and start piecing together the kit. Alright, so I've done a little bit of an overview with all my pipes here. I don't think I'm gonna need this pipe. Also, they gave me so many extra clamps. I mean, I've got 2 per pipe, and then you just need 2 extras to go to the intercooler. We have 4 small couplers for 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 2 reducers. I believe this is either gonna be throttle body to pipe, or these are going to be intercooler to pipe. And then we have 3 big ones. So we're just going to really have to figure out how this is all going to work. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the throttle body with this pipe and a coupler, and then I'm just going to keep following the kit as it goes. I hope I have everything I need, but guess we'll find out. First charge pipe is installed, boys. What I ended up having to do
is I didn't really take into account that the inlet of the carbon intake is absolutely massive, so this was useless. What I needed to do was just steal the actual hose clamp that fit and put it on the RDT coupler, and then use the supplied coupler from coupler to pipe. And now that is installed, our blow-off valve is gonna sit right there all nice and pretty. And then from there, we can figure out where it's gonna go to wrap around into the intercooler and also start mocking up the turbo side. But so far, so good. Another thing I wanna do is I actually wanna get these pipes and powder coat them candy apple red. I think that would be absolutely heinous. Second pipe going on that's coming from our intake manifold pipe is going to be this big curved one. Basically how it's gonna work, it's gonna be real hard for you guys to see, but you can see the pipe coming down right there. So how this is gonna work is this is gonna go over the traction bar, up in there to that pipe, just like that, and it's gonna loop around front into the intercooler. So let's get grinding. Alright, well we had to be a little destructive to the radiator fan. I just cut the leads off of them, leaves us enough to wire it back in, but I'm actually not going to be using this anymore, and this was just the amount of room I needed to figure out this intercooler piping. So I've got the OEM fan off the radiator, just the radiator with the fluid left in it. Got this charge pipe from the intake coming down, and this post bracket here that goes from transmission to right here is a little big. I do have a slim one, I just need to drill it out to fit a little bit better, but as you can see right there, it is hitting the intercooler pipe, leaving us with limited flexibility here. And so far this pipe is angled too high to meet the intercooler. It needs to be angled down quite a bit. So I'm either gonna have to grind a lot of this away and make it work, because as you can see, like, it's just that tab that hits. So if I can grind that down, it'll grant me enough room to be able to work with it. But for now, I'm just gonna cinch it up and see how it turns out. I've been mocking up these two sides to go to the turbo. I'm gonna have to cut them up and make them work, but I think I have an idea for that. But for now, in order to see how much length I need to cut off these guys here, I need to get this intercooler mounted on here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take anti-seize and put a big dollop on each of these points, hold it up exactly to where I need, and that'll make a little mark for where I need to drill. Then I'm gonna drill, and these are threaded perfectly for B and D series exhaust or intake manifold studs. So I'm just gonna use these as a placeholder, go to the parts store and get some proper bolts. But right now we gotta get this fixed onto the car. So let's chuck some anti-seize on here, lay out our marks, and start drilling. Well, shop day's never complete without a run to the hardware store. So I didn't have big enough drill bits and they were loud as hell. So I just got some earplugs. And while I was there, I actually got the proper bolts to hold the intercooler in so we don't have to use the exhaust manifold studs. I got these step cone bits because, well, I don't have a big enough drill bit and this should do the trick. And I got some Loctite to put behind these so they don't rattle themselves loose. And with that being said, you guys have watched me drill enough for the day. I'm just gonna go finish blasting these holes and we'll pick it back up when we're actually installing the intercooler.
2,000 years later.
Boys, I just went to war and I won. If you're wondering if those step cone drill bits work, they don't. Do not buy them, never buy them. I was drilling, I was pushing as hard as I could. I was stalling the drill out and there wasn't even metal shavings coming out of the damn hole that they're supposed to be cutting. They're useless, getting returned. So, as we can see here, bunch of drill bits, garbage. Metal shavings, just everywhere. I ended up having to bust out the whole saw kit. And I blasted a couple holes. So the hole saw was like the only thing that actually worked. But if I set you up on the tripod, let me show you something, boys. It fits. It freaking fits. And it's perfect. Hell yes. Okay, boys, and after that absolute fiasco, that was absolutely the longest part of this whole process, we can finally mount up the intercooler. What I did was I got a fresh bottle of Loctite because I just can't find mine. And we are going to Loctite these bolts. Now, these bolts that I got from the hardware store were a smidge too long. So what I did, I found another nut in my collection that fits, and I'm just gonna use it as a temporary spacer. Since these nuts can fit through the hole that I've made there, I got these large washers, so it actually holds the nut up there. Gonna go ahead, lay some Loctite on those, use 2 washers, and this intercooler is gonna be installed. Just like that, fellas, our intercooler is installed. Let's lower this. It'll probably drop a little bit, but that's okay. Now our intercooler is temporarily installed. Obviously, we can't leave it dangling around like this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get rubber like washer to go over the outside of this to cinch it up enough to where it holds it solid. So that's going to be the next step, but for now the intercooler is mounted temporarily. Boys, I found the solution to our droopy intercooler. I was looking through my bag and I have these little washers, and lo and behold, if we look in there, that washer that I found is like acting like a little metal spacer. I mean, I guess it is a spacer, but it fits perfectly enough to snug up the nuts on top of it and not have any intercooler sag. We are set. Let's lower this jack and make sure it doesn't sag. It is on there solid. Yes. That worked, baby. And boys, that is where I'm gonna leave it for today's video. Quick recap for you. We got the turbo guard on, we got our Go Fast Bits 44mm wastegate installed. We got the radiator like sitting a little funny right now, but it was because we had to take the stock fan shroud off in order to gain some room for our piping. And we have the charge piping done, the intake all the way down to the intercooler. As you can see, this doesn't line up. I got a little bit of shaving to do back there so this can drop down more. And then when this is all cinched up, it'll be a lot closer to fitting. And I mean, take a look at that. If that doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what will. Go ahead, comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video because this thing is so close to making boost. It's unbelievable. I'm really fired up about it, and I hope you guys are too. In the next one, we'll start putting on all the other goodies I showed you at the start of this video, and hopefully finish up the hot side from the turbo to the intercooler, because I need to chop up and make the rest of the piping work for my setup. But for now, intercooler and intake side is on, hot side coming next week with some other parts, and I'll see you guys then. Peace out.